Hello. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to this session. I'm Professor Fabrice Serrand from the Lycée Français Jean Monnet in Brussels, and we are delighted to be here with you this morning. I would like to start with a quote by poet Bernanos, who said once that the fever of the youth is what precisely keeps the world temperature at constant rate. And I think that we need this fever, obviously. And our high school, maybe you don't know it, but like many other high schools in Brussels, is located in a Brussels suburb, and we have to face many environmental challenges since the 1960s. So I would like to invite two students here to the stage. Please come here. Thank you, Nathan and Julie. Just to briefly present and introduce our initiatives, innovative initiative for the climate. The micro is yours.
So hello, my name is Nathan Ward.
And you can have another. Oh, okay.
I'll start again. So as I said, my name is Nathan Ward.
And I'm Jay Giannoli.
And we're representing the 1.8 class in the French School of Brussels. And we're here to speak about possible changes we can make in our school and other schools for a more sustainable and eco-friendly future.
The three main subjects we would like to talk about are plastic waste, use of renewable energies, and use of petrol. These ideas are no groundbreaking scientific solutions and can even be called quite basic. However, this far, our school nor other schools in Brussels have done anything in this regard, so this is why we're talking about them today.
As a class, we have developed several ideas to reduce our plastic consumption level at our school. First and foremost, we think that banning all non-reusable plastic bottles is the most important. It is, quite honestly, an easy thing to do. Our school cafeteria offers a variety of drinks that are contained in plastic water bottles that students can only recycle inside the school's cafeteria. And there are better options, such as using bottles that we could use for the whole year, that, for example, the school gives us at the beginning of the year, and we can just use them for the whole year long. And we can also use canned drinks and glass bottles. Not only that, the school does not encourage recycling, which is quite remarkable, and they should be sanctioned and it should be disapproved of. In addition to that, water fountains should be installed throughout the school so that students could just fill up during the day. And well, not only is this a lot more of an eco-friendly solution, it is also financially very interesting, as it would cut back a lot of costs.
Furthermore, school buses have been around in Brussels and present in schools for a long time. However, not a single one of them is fueled electrically. That is simply unacceptable. We understand that this is a big investment, as buses cost a lot, but we think that it is a worthwhile one, since it could be really developed in the years to come. For example, the STIB, so the transport system around Brussels, just launched a new line of entirely hybrid buses that circulates all around the city, which is just prove that it can be achieved.
And when it comes to renewable electricity, we think it'd be a great idea to put solar panels on the roof of the school buildings. Firstly, the state contributes financially to a part of the money spent on these solar panels. And there's this website where we can calculate the surface that we looked at in school in our class, the surface that we could of our roofs that we could use on solar panels, and also how much it costs back on costs. And we saw that on 10 years, we'd cut back on 5,000 euros. So it's obviously a very eco-friendly solution, and again, very interesting financially.
Thank you for listening to us, and thank you for this opportunity. We hope that you can take our ideas on board. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm Peter Droll. I was supposed to open the session and moderate it. I have to report failure for my late being, but you will have a present from me, a book from Kate Ravers called Donut Economics. There will be those who have read it and those who haven't yet read it. And you should be the ones who have read it, because it's really about what you are doing to bring a new thinking to the way we live within the boundaries of our planet, while making sure that no one is poor and hungry and staying outside the minimum living conditions. So I'm delighted to have you here and that we start with a young generation. What has happened in the last year is something really unprecedented and amazing, because we are starting a kind of a dialogue we did not have from the policymakers and the youngsters. And I can tell you that also on my level, from European Policy for Research and Innovation, what you do, the way you demonstrate, for instance, on Fridays, is having a real impact. It has more impact than you think. And with these beautiful, fantastic projects you're doing, you're showing the way for our common future. So the title of this session, Young. Who doesn't feel young here in the room? No one? Ah, yes? Oh, no, come on. Young, innovative, together. And this is also what Europe is about. So, I'm delighted to have you here. I would like to ask now Jad Janoli and Nathan Ward to come on the scene. Oh, that's you? Okay. So I was late. Huh? So then I would like, if that's correct, I would like to introduce Franziska Martins and Max von Wolff. Is that correct? Yep. Franziska, please give her an applause. Hello.
Sorry.
Hello.
And Max.
Thanks for having me.
So, what I know about you is the following. Franziska, you study medicine in Porto.
Yes.
And already in school, you and two of your classmates, you developed something which is called SHIEL S. Sea Heals Soil. And is that correct?
Yes.
And this is a microbiological project, and you use algae to control one of the most dangerous phytopathogens. I know everyone knows what this is. These are plant killers. Huh? And you used algae to fight this plant killer. And you won some national awards with that.
Yes.
Bravo. Applause for Franziska.
Thank you.
And Max von Wolff, he's a young, we can see that, innovator for sure, entrepreneur, who has invented a new method for more accurate weather forecasts. And you use low-cost sensors, is that right?
Yeah, that's
measuring
correct.
devices. And you co-founded Xorigin.
Yeah, you actually call it X-Origin.
X-Origin, X-Origin.
Yeah.
X-Origin, let's remember that. X-Origin with a friend this year.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, and you're planning to ship the sensors to private citizens as well as to corporate with cities interested in short-term storm warnings, for instance, and other applications. So I suggest that we listen immediately to you, Franziska, and then to you, Max. Okay?
Okay. You don't need it. Thank you.
Good.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for having me. It's a great honor to be here speaking in front of so many young people, because all of the people in this room are young, either in spirit or in age or in both. What's important is that we're all interested in science, is that we all adore science. And we are here today discussing why young people are important for science, because everyone knows young people are mad. Young people are disappointed. Young people are looking for leadership. They are looking for ways to control their own future, and they are looking for help. Because we might be young and we might start things on our own, like the climate strike, but we can't do everything on ourselves. We can start them, we can tell everyone, hey, we are here, we are ready to start, we are ready to do something when you couldn't step up. But we can't do it all alone. What we need is to have this conversation, talk with policymakers, with directors, with leaders from our countries, from our cities, from the European Union, from the European Commission, and we need them to listen to us. We need them to look at us and say, okay, they're young in age, but they have important things to say. they know what they're talking about, because everything that is happening right now is going to have a deep impact in their future. It might not have such a deeper impact in ours, but they're the ones that are going to have to deal with this in 10, 15, 20 years' time. And they're the ones who are looking at this, that are looking at climate change as not something they can care about intellectually on their free time just because it's fun, but are something that is challenging them, that is harming them. Climate change and everything that comes with it is harming young people, and it's putting their future at a great risk. People in this room, people younger than us, are at the risk of not actually having a bright future to look upon. That's one of the major reasons we need to have more events like this, that we need to look at them and listen to them. They all have something important to say.
Thank you very much, Franziska. I'll come back to this very quickly, but let's first listen to Max.
Hello, everybody. I'm delighted to be here. I'm Max von Wolff from Germany. And last year, in 2018, I competed at a science competition for the very first time in my life. And I was just blown away by all the incredible projects that were presented at the science fair, and picked up this innovative spirit of creating something new, something that has the ability to change the way we live, to change the way industry works to help the climate. So my journey started out in Germany at this national science competition called Greenwashing. Then I competed at the European Union contest for young scientists last year. And then this year got a Best of Category award in embedded systems at Intel ISF 2019, which was just incredible.
Sorry, I didn't get that. What was it? The system you got?
So it's a Best of Category award in the category of embedded systems. So
embedded systems.
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. There are 22 categories and a total of 1,800 students at Intel ISF, and almost every third of these projects had something to do with climate change. So you can guess how many of these projects, also at USIS last year, have the potential to actually change something. And the statement that I want to make today is that it's not enough to do research. Researchers also have to be connected with the industry. In the common days, it's more important than ever to have this connection in order to take all of this data that has been generated, all of this innovation, and actually apply it. This is also the reason for me why I founded X-Origin a few months ago with a friend. We want to be up close to what's happening in the industry and actually change something. Yeah.
Isn't that beautiful, how strong science is and can be in order to help us to make this transition towards sustainability, where we live within the boundaries of our planet. And you, the four of you, are giving us a lot of inspiration here. So let me turn to our next speaker, and this is the mayor of the city of Leuven. I'm very happy and proud to have you here, Mr. Ridwani.
Yeah.
You are mayor of the city of Leuven since last year, and you have set a wonderful vision for Leuven. To turn Leuven, who has already visited Leuven? Yes? Okay, yes. To turn Leuven into one of the most caring, green, and prosperous cities in Europe. So you are the inspirer of Leuven 2030, in which more than 500 companies, organizations, and citizens are united to turn Leuven into a sustainable and CO2 neutral city by 2030. That's tomorrow. And that's the right ambition. And you got for that some award, also from us, the European Green Leaf Award. You also initiated Leuven Mindgate, an economic platform with 400 members to boost Leuven as a hotspot for health, technology, and creativity. Mr. Mayor, we're delighted to have you here. Your inspirations, please, the floor is yours. Can you tell us a bit more about what you do in Leuven?
Well, hello, first of all, everyone, and especially to you, the youngsters. I'm always excited to see when youngsters are taking action and try to come with answers, and we need them. So Leuven, for those who haven't heard about it yet, it's quite close to Brussels. It's only 30 kilometers away from here in the Dutch-speaking part in Flanders. And it is the largest university city of Belgium, with one of the oldest universities of Europe. And in fact, a couple of years ago, when I was a deputy mayor, and I'm mayor since January this year, I started the initiative of Leuven 2030, because my belief is that a city on its own, or a university on its own, or the citizens themselves could never achieve full change if they do not cooperate. So, and to make sure that this collaboration is a sustainable thing, a structural thing, we have designed something which is quite unique in my opinion. It's a kind of new governance model. So we have created a new organization above the city, above the knowledge institutions, above the companies, and above the citizens. It's called Leuven 2030. I convinced my city council to give away the responsibility of climate policy to that organization and to give it the means that they need. And since then, so many things have happened. This organization is also democratically, in fact, it's a democratic organization. Each category, like citizens, knowledge institutions, governments, companies, has 20% of the votes. There are 5 categories. Anyone can become member and come into the board of directors.
Also students?
Yes, also students. But there is one condition, because I don't like greenwashing. So like a company that says, hey, I want to be part of Leuven 2030. We will not do too much, but we're there and we can. So if you want to be in the board of directors and have visibility, you need to present a binding action plan. And that's where we got a very strong start. So anyone there has a binding action plan, and a lot of things have happened. We have implemented in Leuven a new mobility plan a couple of years ago, where we banned almost all car traffic from our entire city center, reducing the CO2 emissions heavily. The cycling has increased with 35% in 2 years, and the car usage has dropped. So it had, of course, there was a lot of reaction, because some people don't like that kind of change. But now, over the years, as our public space has become more car-free, green, and really comfortable for pedestrians and cyclists, people come to see and to admire, in fact, the change. We have insulated buildings, more green, etc. And I would like to conclude that also for Leuven 2030, youngsters play a crucial role. I've implemented a separate climate parliament in Leuven, where youngsters from, I would say, 3 years to 18 years and above have their role. They come up with ideas, they monitor the change. And indeed, science and innovation is important. And we are, of course, in that sense, a rich city. We have a beautiful university, the KU Leuven. And from the start, they were there. And they have designed, in fact, a scientific report with more than 100 scenarios, how to have this roadmap towards a climate-neutral city. And they are also monitoring it. So, in fact, in that sense, science, innovation is crucial.
Excellent. That gives us already an idea how to do it in practice. And you created a new governance layer. Very interesting. So for the next speaker to complete the panel, I don't need any notes. Let me introduce you to a very beautiful mind and a wonderful colleague, to Clara de la Torre. Clara, come in. I owe a lot to Clara. She has been my boss for quite some time. and a wonderful boss, and is exemplary for working in the Commission. And Clara has been for many years in her career in charge of research and innovation in different functions. And she has been so good, and sometimes it's not good to be too good, that she has been promoted to be the boss of the Deputy Director General, which is really high in our organization, for DG Climate. So who better to have here than you, Clara? What are you making out of this?
Thank you, Peter, for your very kind words. I am fascinated to be here because I always feel young, but today I even feel younger. And I had a lot of things to do, but I said, I have to be there. I have to be there. And it all started with these young students telling us what are the good ideas that they are putting in place. We'll come back to them afterwards, I'm sure. The innovators telling us, all this is very good. It is based on science. So this is one of the messages I would like that we bring us from here. Climate change is not a feeling, it's not an invention, it's something based on scientific evidence. That's one thing we should not forget. And I am a huge fan of Leuven, so it's a privilege to be here with you. I think also as Europeans, we have to be proud to be the only part of the world which has a fully fledged regulatory framework. And you would say that's boring regulatory. It might be boring, but it's absolutely necessary because it's one of the pieces that will make Europe succeed in its climate objectives. And we have a framework for 2030 on reducing energy consumption, on using renewables, on energy efficiency, and certainly on reducing greenhouse gases by 40%. Our estimations make that in Europe we are going to reach, without changing the legislation, a little bit more than 40. But, as you all know, last year the Commission made a proposal of a long-term strategy for Europe to be fully decarbonized by 2050. And there we are having huge work of convincing the 28 member states to buy in this target. I'm very happy to say, and President Tusk has announced that this week in New York in the Climate Summit, that we have nearly all member states there. We are 3 or 4 are missing, but I'm confident that they will be doing so. And by the end of the year in the European Council, you know, where all the bosses of the governments meet, they will agree that we have to go with that. And could you imagine that we would succeed in that objective without science, without technology, without everyone in the society being involved? I cannot imagine that. And I don't think anybody imagines that. There is hope. Two weeks ago, and I have left some papers there. I know we are in a paperless conference, but I left some there. We published Eurobarometer about the opinions of citizens about climate change, and 93% of Europeans said that this is a serious issue. So that's very important. 93% said that they have taken at least one personal action for climate change. So I think we should not be complacent. There are plenty of things to do, but we should not be pessimistic either. We have the science, we have the technology that we need to develop, and we have the demand from society, in particular from the youngsters. There is nothing else that we need. We just have to move forward and be the leaders in the world. Thank you.
Thank you, Clara. And let me continue where you ended. Can we be leaders in the world? Because we would love to think that Europe, which is quite good in moving towards the United Nations sustainability targets, we would love to think that we are doing quite well. But let me ask, and let me test this question with the young generation here, because it's also clear, if you look at the statistics, the challenges are terrible. Are really scaring. So, Francesca, perhaps, can I ask you, because you made a very clear statement at the beginning, would you have trust, can you speak here also for the other youngsters in the room, would you have trust that Europe, that the EU, is doing the right thing? Be very honest, because actually don't be kind. That would be the wrong thing. Be very honest, and perhaps be prepared. I would ask also your opinion. Would you have trust for us? Are we on the right track? Can we do more? Should we do more?
I mean, like Mrs. De La Torre said,
Clara.
Europe is doing a lot, but we can't just believe that going day-by-day business is going to be enough. Okay, having 40% is good. It is. It's an improvement. Everything right now is important. Everything has its impact. But we cannot keep doing day-by-day business and hoping the planet will just keep on letting us buy time. The planet is running out of time to letting us buy. So we have the solutions. Day-by-day business works to 40%. Now we have to think, what can we do to have it 60, 75, 90%? There's always room for improvement. Even if we can reach 100%, there is always room to think above that, beyond that. I think we are doing a good job. Doing a good job does not mean we can't do more.
Okay. Is there someone here who would like to be sharper in that statement? Who would think that we have got it wrong? We are not on the right path. If you're not raising your hand now, you have to go back home saying, yes, the EU is doing the right thing. Yes.
Is it working?
Yes.
I feel like probably the EU is doing a lot and it's moving forward now, but it's not going to be enough if we keep to the plans that has been made for now. So this is why we participate in strikes, because even if the EU does a lot, it doesn't mean the whole world is going to follow them, and there's more than just the EU in the world, and we have to take that into account too.
Excellent point. Thank you so much. Another voice? Okay. This for me, this session is a dream come true, because our dream was that at the European level, when we talk about prioritizing investments in research and innovation, we have a bit of money to do that. The dream would be that we can identify these priorities in a dialogue with youngsters. And the problem with that is that we don't have the governance, or the channels, we don't have the institutions and the methods for it. So for us, if I'm very honest, it's a bit uncomfortable, as if we were exploiting the students, if we were exploiting you. How does it feel for you? Was it easy to come here? Was it your professor who had to push?
Well, I didn't know about this this meeting, obviously, in the first place, but obviously our teacher talked about it to us, and I do find it interesting. I do think. I've also been looking at the news. For example, other young people have been have been an inspiration to see what they've been trying to do, and I think I can. This is nice, because I think that I've done a bit of my part, not all of it. Obviously, I still have to improve as a ecological citizen. I use the car too much. I've used plastic bottles in my life, and I want to improve in that. But step by step, I think hope to get there one day. That's it.
I think these meetings are essential to everyone, because everyone is concerned by climate change and what is to come, and so it's really important that we know and we can find new ways to innovate and find solutions in order to decelerate or just make it better to live once we get there.
Wow, I think you have a very strong voice, and that is very encouraging also for me and my colleagues. Actually, my wonderful team who has prepared that, can you raise your hand for a moment? Thanks for having made this possible. We will continue. So, Mr. Mayor, what is your experience in involving the youngsters, the school students, in your project Leuven 2030? Is there something which you would do differently with hindsight, or something you could suggest to us to copy?
Well, I think that involvement at first place is so much important, because if youngsters feel left out and have only to watch the drama scene from outside, I think that's not good. So, and they are so full of creativity and ideas. So if you involve them, your perspective will open up. When the strikes were going on like each week, and national politicians were saying, this is not so good, they should be at school. It was last school year. And then when it was in Brussels, but then they started doing it also in other cities, also in Leuven. One of the major manifestations was in Leuven. And then I said, look, you are welcome to do this, and you are right to do this, and I urge you to do it more, because I think that it is up to the youth to speak up and to make sure that we take our responsibility. Next to that, I think we should take them serious. And that's why in Leuven 2030, we work so closely with our knowledge institutions, with our schools, where it's not only about talking, but also about implementing action. So we have a whole different plan for schools, for example, where they make the buildings of the schools sustainable, where we help them put solar panels on the roof, where they have all kinds of programs to, in fact, reduce usage of plastics and to have a sustainable waste management, water management, etc. And it is the youngsters, in fact, that are taking the lead in that. Often it is the teachers and directors that have to follow what the pupils are asking. And so that is why they are so important to me, because they are, in fact, front runners. If you convince them, they're the next generation, but they will convince their teachers, their parents, and their environments as well. So that is why if we have large programs that are implemented also from the EU, I believe you should not forget the younger generations.
Can I ask you, Mr. Seron, have you been in difficulty saying go and skip school on Fridays? Or with your project, have you been...
I have to be honest.
Yes, please.
Yes. Well, I was not very pleased as a teacher, it's true, that, as they say in Belgium, they brossent les cours. It's true, because I was teaching this issue. And so I felt like challenged by this initiative. It's true, last year, I must confess. So that's why maybe I try to find, new initiatives, but maybe more organized initiatives that are partly an answer to these issues and to this way of protesting. But now, when I look back at these initiatives, of course, I think that they mattered a lot, because they have, for the first time in Belgium, really an impact. On the at least public debate and maybe the decision making.
Thank you so much. I think it was a lesson to all of us. Could I have this wonderful mic in form of a cube? Now we are going to play ball. It's your occasion to ask questions to the... Thank you, Stephanie. To ask questions to the wonderful audience, participants, panelists here. So the way it works,
you have to push.
you speak into that. You speak
Push
into that black part, okay?
Whoa. So it's up.
Sorry, this seems very complicated.
Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Hello, my name is Ana Maria Grigore. I work with Peter in DG Research and Innovation, and I have a question for the young man over there. Sorry, I didn't catch your name because I didn't arrive at the beginning. I really liked what you said about becoming responsible citizens, ecological citizens, because I think this is very important. And I wanted to ask you, not only you, but maybe all the youngsters, what skills do you think you will need in order to learn at school in order to become this kind of citizen? Do you think school can help you? And what kind of skills would you require to become that? Thank you.
Nathan, over to you.
I think, well, for me at school, for now, I haven't had much talk about what we can do in the future. However, I think, personally, just for me, how I have to qualify what I should become is perseverant. It's quite a challenge to stop using cars or whatever that is bad for the environment. So even if I do it a few times, if I make the same mistake again, it's not gonna affect the good things I've done. So I have to be perseverant in continuing to believe in this worldwide project, and hope everyone else follows the example, and hope we can become a better world.
That's what it is about. Let's throw the micro. Who has a micro? Throw it. Just throw in any direction.
Okay, I'll take this opportunity. First of all, to the Mayor of Leuven. I come from Australia, and I'm staying in Leuven because there are no hotel rooms in Brussels. It's wonderful. It's my first visit, and really what you said about the bikes and the space, I can see it straight away. So congratulations on what you've done. Secondly, for Max, what exactly do you need from industry? What would you like to see to help make that leap from science then to the entrepreneurship that you're doing to industry to be able to really scale up?
Yeah, so I mean, first of all, obviously the industry is profit-oriented in a common sense. And I think it's the European Union's responsibility to change this, or maybe have plans for incorporating the mitigation of climate change, solutions for climate change, with gaining profits. It's really important that some little farmer out there in the fields gets to know what solutions are out there. Like, for example, our weather forecasting solutions, they would probably help them, but we just do not have the connections to them, and in many cases, they just don't have the demand to talk to us, contact us, and ask us whether we might actually implement our solutions at their place. And I think this is something that has to change dramatically in the next few years. And I also think it's the European Union's responsibility to really reach down deep and delegate certain problems in all kinds of fields in society. Not only having a broad overview, but really delegating what we will need, what we have to do in order to mitigate the climate crisis. Yeah.
Max, can I continue on that? Because you mentioned that in this Young Scientist contest at European level, a lot was on environmental climate-related solutions. What is a driving force behind? Is it to make money? Would you want to be rich in the first place, which is perfectly legitimate? Or would you want... I mean, you spoke a lot about changing the world. What is your primary objective? Of your colleagues as well.
Yeah. So my opinion, it's sustainability. I really see the climate crisis as a problem we have to face together. And if we don't act right now, it's going to get more severe and severe in the future, and we will not be able to change something about it. But I see the fact that you must found, for example, a for-profit company as an important tool in order to actually change something. Because otherwise industry is not going to react to you, as I said. That's my point of view. Yeah.
Yes, because I don't think we should, I know it was not your intention, but just in case for our audience, we should not oppose dealing with sustainability or climate change with making profits. Precisely, the charm of the affair is that it's not a burden. It is possibilities of new companies, new products, new ways of living. And I was very much impressed by the project presented by a school, because by changing behavior, it has been proven, it's not a feeling, it has been proven that the needs for investment, that we need to have big investments, that's for sure, in innovation and clean technologies, but these needs can be 2-3 points reduced by changing our behaviors. So the initiatives you're talking about, the roofing, the bottles, some long trips that we do for perhaps 1 hour meeting. We have the technology there. These technologies for video conferencing, which very often fail, can be a business, a good business case for precisely the food. It's not a question of saying everyone vegetarian from now on, not at all. But we have to have reasonable diets, which things also that are we can buy in closer spaces. We have seen for the youngsters, perhaps they can tell us that there are less and less youngsters that buy cars, they share them, and less youngsters that have the driving license. They want to be mobile. How it is? So it is an opportunity for everyone. Of course, there's some that are going to lose in the short term, but the union has promised that we will not leave anyone behind, and this we have to manage and to do something for it.
Thank you, Clara. Can I relate to that? Mayor, you mentioned that you want to avoid greenwashing when companies come and join the Leuven 2030 project. What kind of companies came in the end and make substantial commitments? Is it really, do we see a kind of shift that companies really get serious on being clean and producing clean?
Yes, and the process was not so easy. So it's quite a complex exercise as it has been. It took us almost 2 years to make this organization because we were debating about how it should work. And then at the table you had companies like banks, like industries that produce things and so produce carbon emissions. On the other hand, you had the green NGOs, for whom it couldn't go fast enough, you see? So combining that was not so easy, but in the end, we agreed on a common philosophy. And we said that we should not finger point at each other. But if you take action, you do that in collaboration, and if you want to be on the board, you will get a lot of exposure, but you will have to get things done. We have all kinds, we have like AB InBev, who is producing Stella Artois, which is based in Leuven. They are there, and they're doing amazing things. If you see the amount of water they use to produce the beer, it's really going down. Even they produce as much as they did before. So we have banks there, we have smaller companies, we have the university, and they all are taking action. And the goal is reduce CO2 emissions. It means you have to take actions on mobility, less usage of car traffic, more usage of bicycles, green mobility. We have to insulate and renovate our buildings because heating up the buildings in Leuven is 60% of the emissions, so that's a big challenge. Consumption, more green areas, etc., and a large involvement of people. And there, when we go to our inhabitants, we don't really speak about reducing emissions. Of course, that's the objective. But we tell a story of making the city better. The city, in the end, will become better, not worse than today, because by doing so, you see innovation within the companies, because you see new companies arising and they're making profit by doing the sustainable story. Our public space is becoming more green and comfortable. The citizens feel healthier, and they are becoming healthier. They're cycling more. So I try to convince my inhabitants that this is a good story for all of us, that this is worth, in fact, collaborating on.
Excellent. Please get ready for the cube. Throw it again. I have one more question for the mayor. Have you been called crazy when you said we should be carbon neutral by 2030?
Yes, many times.
Many times.
I was, in fact, let's say, establishing the organization and the governance model was okay. But then when we had to take the action, of course, as a politician, then it becomes tricky. So, and the most risky thing we did is like 2 years, 1 year and a half before election time. I was deputy mayor before for sustainability. And I implemented this circulation plan, this mobility plan. And there I was declared like dead, politically dead, because you could not survive this. It seemed like everyone was against it. But in the end, it seems there was a silent majority of people that agreed. And over time, they saw it was okay. And when elections came, I scored like hell. And I became the mayor of Leuven. So you see, it's not impossible to take the right action and to get awarded after that. But now that I'm mayor, people say, okay, you're mayor, so you have to do even better than before. So, but you have to fasten seatbelts sometimes, and leadership has been said here many times. So I think leadership is needed to take actions, but the story behind is also important, so that people see that it's beneficial and that it's good to all.
Is someone feeling motivated to become mayor?
I hope so.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
Okay, the lady in red.
My name is Irina. I work in the commission. I have a question to the three of you, to students. Imagine if you had 80 million euro coming from taxpayer. So 80 million euros that has come from the taxpayers in Europe, and you are asked to invest in research and innovation for Europe. What would be your priorities?
The 80 million euro question. Excellent.
For the four.
For the four of us.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
We have the microphone. Don't worry.
Yeah, that's actually a really interesting question. I think I would actually try to give it away to the industry once again, because the root problems of climate change, and in the end we have to solve the root problems, obviously, lay in industry. And we gotta look where these problems are based and then create sustainable benefits for these companies. And in my opinion, we just need to kick it off. And once the industry changed the way it's producing things, the ways that cars are built, then they're going to keep doing this. If it's cheaper, I mean, an electric car is far more easier to build than a gas engine car. It's just a matter of time and battery technology, I think. But in the end, there are ways to incorporate economic growth into sustainability when it comes to climate. Yeah, so I would actually give it away in a sense to create advantages for the industry to change something. Yeah.
Okay. Industry perspective, Francisca.
That's a really interesting question. I think we're all talking. In Portugal, we have a saying that is "puxar a brasa à minha sardinha." It means we all pull the subject, or in this case, the euros, to what we are more connected to or more interested in. In Max's case, and his idea is really interesting as well. It would be industry, but I would have to take the example from my country and some of the ideas we are trying to make happen. And for example, unfortunately, one of the things I've heard is that Portugal ranks really low when it comes to recycling, which is really unfortunate. But we are trying to change that. One of the things we are doing is, besides giving everyone specific bins so they can recycle at home, we have also started doing something a little bit different. That is taking the organic trash and dividing it into those that can be used for compostage, I think it is, and those that can't. So every household, besides recycling, has a specific bin outside where they can put their organic trash that can be used for composting. So we are using things that would not be used in any other way, will just be thrown in a pile and wait for it to disappear. And we are doing something useful, because that compostage is then sent to farmers, to everyone, to use as manure, if you will. Another thing we would do is, I would do at least, would be invest in transportation, because we talk a lot about people not using cars, and I think this event has the brilliant idea of not having anywhere you can park anywhere near, so you are kind of forced to using metro or to using bus. But you can't do that everywhere. There are countries, there are places where if you want to use the bus or if you want to use the metro, you can't. Your best alternative would be to share a personal transportation. I think I would invest a lot more in public transportation to make it come more often, better lines, more stops. I think I would go both ways.
Okay. Yeah, can I maybe just add a quick sentence to this? Whether or not you're driving your very own car or having an electric car or having electric public transportation, the aspect you talked about with recycling could really be a huge economic chance for businesses in the future. For example, electric batteries, they contain lithium, which is a rare element for which you can really get a lot of money in return when you recycle it. So, yeah, I just want to add.
We continue with the 80 million
exactly.
euro question,
I just want to add
and I will
yeah.
also come to Clara, to you and the mayor, on that 80 million. Where would you invest? Where should we invest?
I was going to talk about public transport, but I can't talk about that anymore, so I'll find another idea. I think that, transport is very important because, as you said, not everyone has access to public transport. In more remote areas, you just don't have access. You have to use a car. It is essential for your daily life and going to work, for example. But if I had to spend any more of the money that I had, I'd probably, it's not innovative and scientific, but it'd maybe be in more campaigns to make people even more aware and try and find new solutions to force people to be more eco-friendly. So I don't know if it's the kind of answer you were looking for, but I would just transport and then campaigns to make people even more aware of the problems that are going on.
Let me come in on so just a second on this last point, which is so important. In the previous session with Kate Rabers, who wrote this famous book, Donut Economics, she's from the Club of Rome. She said we should be the first generation to recognize the challenge we have, to rescue the planet while making sure that people don't live in poverty. So the recognition, if we are recognizing in what kind of emergency we are, then we will find the ways of dealing with it. So thank you for making this point.
So in addition to everything that was just said, which are all great ideas, I think we should just generally invest in the youth because we're the ones that are faced with a problem and we have to endure the consequences of it. And I think that because we know what's to come and, well, not all of us, but we kind of know what to expect. We have the ideas for the most part about how we're supposed to improve and accommodate to the future quality of life we're going to have. And so that I think it's really important for us to just, be informed and develop our ideas that we just previously said in all of Europe's metropoles, for example. And because I think the more people we touch, well, the bigger the subject is going to be.
Very clear, and it's so nice because in the new commission, starting in November, the Minister for Research and Innovation will also be the Minister for Youth. We call them commissioners, but they are ministers. Clara, 80 million.
I think I will go along with some of these young here, and I will put fast charging points for electric cars in cities of free access. I mean, free access meaning not in private houses, but in the street. And it has to be quick charging points. For that, we still need to develop some technology. For the batteries not to be too much used, and for the systems themselves. That's my 80 million. In Leuven, perhaps.
You don't have any electric cars, huh, right? You don't need electric cars because you do it in Leuven with bikes.
We do need the 80 million. I will show you that it works. But if I may add to that, so another idea maybe in Europe we have a lot of old heritage buildings which you cannot put a new facade to insulate it on the outside. So we need new techniques to reduce demand for energy in those buildings. Secondly, I believe Europe should invest more in R&D, research and development in the public institutions, but also in the private companies like yours. because their innovations will come that will give new answers to all these problems. When at the beginning of the 60s, President Kennedy said in the US, we want to go to the moon. We want to land on the moon. At that point, it seemed impossible. At that point, it seemed impossible for many people. But by the end of the 60s, the Americans did land. And how did they do it? Well, they spent vast amounts of budget into research and development. So in all kinds of industries, people started innovating. And it was not only about the landing on the moon, but that landing, and the landing on the moon for us is reducing the emissions, doing away with the emissions, in fact triggered so much innovation. We wouldn't have the internet today if we didn't have that challenge. We've had so many innovations in telecom, in mobility, in so many in healthcare because of that challenge that was met but triggered so much innovation. So I believe that's the way forward.
Thank you so much. I'm looking at the watch. I think we have to stop, but there's one question here.
It's a quick one.
Quick.
Paloma Mallorquin from the bio-based industries joint undertaking. It's a quick question to Mr. Ridouani on the potential and chances for replicability of your initiative in Leuven. Living in Brussels, I would really love to have this idea, this initiative, like to be implemented in other cities in Belgium, for example. Have you received any interest from other cities? Are you planning to collaborate in this sense to, let's say, showcase?
Excellent point. 40 seconds.
Well, thank you for your question. If I would like, then I would, every week I would be somewhere speaking. And there is so much demand, especially since we won the European Green Leaf from the European Commission. And we are most willing and happy to share that information. We have a roadmap towards 2030, 2050, which is written down, which is replicable. We have the way we organized it with Leuven 2030, in my opinion, is replicable. You can fine-tune it towards the city, but it's replicable. So I'm happy to share this information. In fact, we've had contacts with the government of Brussels, and the new government is in fact taking quite some elements from our plans. But we are definitely wanting to share this, because it's not only our problem, of course. We need to have that approach.
If I can add, we can give some money to it, because we will launch missions following your point about moonshots from the United States, and one of them is about carbon neutral cities.
Exactly.
So I'm very sorry, but we have to close this session now. Can I ask you all, because it was really a dream come true, that you come all here in front and we make a group picture, a family picture. I would want this to be the beginning of some more systematic, recurrent events where we speak, discuss, and see how we can move forward together. So please join me in giving a warm applause to our wonderful speakers.